Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the MCW cast. I'm Tara.
I am Kim, filling in for Larry.
And I'm Dan McDevitt, MCW promoter. We're episode 49 here.
Yep, almost a full year. And to think this time last year, we were sitting around, not in this nice studio that we have now, but we were sitting around talking about making something as cool as this and having such a space, but we hadn't actually seen it materialize. So I think that it's been a very full year and we've done a lot.
Man, time goes so fast because I wouldn't. The only reason I know is obvious because it's episode 50, but I wouldn't have
49.
Yeah. Well, almost episode 50. So obviously almost at 52. I wouldn't have guessed if you would have just asked. That's the only way I know. I would have probably said 6 or 7 months. So it's crazy that it's been a year already. Almost
A year. That's
Very
right.
Close.
So thank you to our listeners who are checking us out live on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, if you are consuming your podcast content later on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Radio Public, and CastBox, thank you for listening there. And don't forget to not just listen, but subscribe so you can get all of our notifications when we post new content.
And I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Coffee. You were going to talk about coffee.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're watching and you want to drop us a tip, so to speak, you can always buy us a coffee because we love our coffee here on the cast, and it's actually time again for warm coffee. Almost the time of year for warm coffee. So just what's the link, Tara?
buymeacoffee.com
/
MCWcast. Yes. It's been a while since I said that. I had almost forgotten. Speaking of hot, our guest in studio last week was none other than Leela Gray. She made her MCW pro wrestling debut here during Season's Beatings on December 4th.
And what charisma and personality she had.
Yeah, she had a lot going on. I thought her backstory was just fascinating, and her career as an actress and a singer, I just thought was fantastic, and working in radio.
From the moment she kind of spoke, because actually, the first time meeting her was when she came in, because it was before she wrestled on the show. From the moment she just kind of started talking, I was like, wow, that girl's voice is powerful.
Yeah.
And personality is powerful. She definitely has a future. That just something just jumped out at me right away. And then you mentioned that obviously she had a background in singing, which I didn't know. And she's new to the business. I mean, what did she say? 2019, something like 2019. Yeah, and then part of that time was during the pandemic. So she's really making waves. I mean, and she's doing a lot of AEW stuff.
Yep, she's had probably a dozen or so AEW dark matches.
Which that alone says something, because I mean, you some guys 5, 6, 7 years and don't get opportunities like that. So she definitely has something. I think it's fair to say she has that it factor.
Absolutely. And Nicole and I got the chance to talk to her on MCW Backstage Pass. And she just was so relatable and likable, and just coming from a broadcast background. Sometimes you see when they come from broadcast into this, it's very stiff and I can only tell you the facts. This is exactly what I'm going to say. Just the personality and the singing, I loved her. Sometimes
doing this MCW cast has made me feel old. That was one of those episodes when she didn't know who the Godfather was.
Oh yeah, we had to explain that. It's
like that was only the Attitude Era. That wasn't. Was the Attitude Era that long ago?
That was, if it wasn't for the Godfather, I wouldn't even be here. I would have never even gotten into professional wrestling. So.
I had
it was a feeling old moment for me as well.
It was like when I was a young fan in the 90s and people would talk about Nick Bockwinkel. It's like, man, that was forever ago. That's what I kind of felt like. It's like, you don't know who the Godfather is? I was during the Attitude Era.
Well, and I think too, it didn't make me think that it had been so long, because the Godfather still regularly makes appearances on shows and does conventions. So he's still very much active in the pro wrestling world. Yeah. So, in my head, I see him, every year or so. And so it didn't seem like, oh, that was actually 22 years ago.
Yeah. When you think about it.
well, speaking of the past, you can go to our YouTube channel and check out all of our Flashback Friday episodes that we have. You can see some from the not so distant past. I know last week we just had one from 2020, but we have some that go way back several years. Not way back, because obviously the video quality is pretty terrible.
Is that the reason they keep saying there's no Terraverse candy on Flashback Friday?
Yeah, because, well, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the same as
Probably.
Yeah, because getting
That's
that.
what we'll go with. That's what we'll go
Let's go with that.
Because getting that some of that VHS.
Static.
Well,
the
VHS to video, it looks
There
bad.
are DVDs of us. I'm certain of it. Not a lot, but I'm certain that there's some DVDs out there.
I'm sure. of it.
So, well, Dangerous Women of Wrestling has quite the extensive video collection of us. They post it regularly and tag us
They
in
do.
it. So,
That's
Still?
they do. Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
they did a documentary. They didn't interview us. I'm really upset about that, actually.
For Dangerous Women of Wrestling.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
They still
did.
post stuff regularly.
regularly.
Their
Like
old stuff.
2 weeks ago, I think I was tagged
Yeah.
in one, and I don't even remember the show, but I was wearing a referee's outfit, so I don't.
Because that was after your neck, and you couldn't
must have
wrestle
been.
yet, so you were always the referee.
Yeah, I remember that, but that specific show, I don't know. They all
They
blurred
all blurred
together.
Did they sell the footage? Do you know, or is it still the same guys running it, or did they?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what. One time, what was that video?
Is it like video on demand now? Is that what
I
they're
think
pushing?
so.
They
or
have stuff on whatever the kids call it, pay-per-view. You can go if you're on Comcast. If you scroll through the channels, it'll come up like Dangerous Women of Wrestling. But the titles, we never knew what the title of the show was, so you see like
Right.
whatever it's
Well,
called.
'cause
Like,
they
I'm
were-
convinced they named them
they
afterwards.
had to have.
Well, because a lot of them were very adult centered.
I know one time I went into Suncoast Video and there were a bunch of DVDs there and they were $5 and I bought them all because I was mortified that someone I knew might actually get one of
Were
them.
you on the cover?
I was on the back cover
Yes.
of 2 of them, and
So-
right next to G.I. Ho, in fact. And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want anyone to see this." So I'm not kidding. There is a box in my house that is full of WEW videos that I bought so that no one else. Now I'm sure they restocked them, but in my head, I was like, "No one is going to see this footage ever."
I feel like they sold that footage.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure there's a market out there for that stuff. So, and people comment and they get very they have fond memories of our time there.
Yeah,
So
it was.
Somebody should. Somebody should.
Someone should. Well, we were talking about this last week, actually, on the episode about how you and I kind of perfected the evening gown match. Like we accepted our fate. This was women's wrestling in that era.
I think Layla was. I think she was like mortified.
She probably was.
She seemed like mortified. That's why I didn't ask her if she would do an evening gown match. Not that I was going to ask her to do one, to book one. I was going to say, hey, would you have done that? Because I could kind of tell by the answer on her
She
face.
was like, "You did what?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
But obvious, she didn't know who the Godfather was. So obviously she wasn't watching wrestling when that was what was on TV every week.
Right.
Was evening gown matches or you
Yeah.
know, whatever type of
It was a strange time.
whatever type
That
of
was.
lingerie.
And then we got Ned
bowls.
wearing evening gowns. So
Yep.
we were ahead of our time.
Buckchild wore an evening gown.
He wasn't happy
we were
about
ahead
that.
of our
I
time.
remember that he was so mad.
Yeah.
He was so mad. Well, anyway, we have our guest today. He is known as the Shamrock Shooter, Killian McMurphy. He will be joining us as soon as we take our quick commercial break. And he is a guy who's doing some really different things out there in the professional wrestling too. Not evening gown matches, I don't think, but we can ask him.
And there's always room for a first.
Sure.
So what do you think, Dan, the promoter?
We'll let you think about it during the commercial break.
Yeah, we'll talk about it during the commercial
All right,
break.
so stay with us and we'll be right back with our guest, Killian McMurphy.
Show your support for the MCW cast while sporting some great gear by going to teespring.com/stores/MCWcast. You can pick up a full line of official MCW cast merchandise, from coffee mugs and face coverings to t-shirts and sweatshirts. Visit teespring.com/stores/MCWcast.
And we are back on the MCW cast, episode 49, with Killian McMurphy.
That's right. I'm here. And first things first, Tara, you better be sweet to me today, because last time we interacted, you smacked me right across my pretty little face. And that kind of thing, that's not you can't reach me
God.
here, and I feel a little better about it.
This
But
is
if
true.
she does pop off, Dan, I'm going to need you to
This is true. And I
Help
hadn't
me
slapped
out.
anyone in a long time, and it felt good.
I bet
It
you got a
did.
lot of frustration out right here, right here. For what? Just for wanting a little smooch. I can't believe
I
it.
mean, you know.
Did this
it's-
happen on a show?
It did.
No, it was actually in the back a couple minutes ago.
A half hour before we started, actually. Can you believe it? Really unprofessional on my part. I was going to ask you for a smooch next, Dan, but I couldn't find
And
it.
I'll do it again. I just want you to know
See
that.
what I mean? She's a loose cannon, Dan.
You never know if it was a show or a birthday party. That's why
That is true. That is true. No, it was definitely on a show. Yep.
So Killian, man, how are you doing? You're Killian is a guy that wasn't really from our training center and all, but's been coming around.
That's how you know
helping
I'm
out.
good.
Yeah, right. There you, that's coming
I'm here
around
anyway.
and showing up and just kept
Birthday
like,
parties.
birthday parties and kind of earned his spot here.
Mhm.
You know, it was a guy that like many others that kept showing up, and we're glad to have him. And he's becoming a featured part of the shows now. Finally,
Now you're from local-ish, right? Delaware?
Yeah, Delaware, Maryland originally, but
Okay.
kind of got my start in professional wrestling in Delaware.
we're in Maryland. Like where you trained? Did you train down there? Is that where you kind
I
of?
trained in Delaware.
That's the first time I ever saw you, like going down like with the Delaware
Yep.
shows. and stuff.
Dirty Sunny Deeds.
Okay.
That crew was my original trainer. It's funny. The first indie match I ever saw was him against G-Fed at one of your guys' shows at the Auto Exchange. And then lo and behold, I get trained by Sunny Deeds. And when this airs, the last MCW show, I wrestled G-Fed. So pretty cool full
Oh,
circle kind of thing.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I remember that show. So you weren't wrestling then?
Nope, I was a fan in the crowd.
Really? I'd always thought I remembered seeing you, but I guess maybe you probably started training soon after that. Was
Very
that
soon
then they
after
had the
that.
school there at the Delaware Auto Exchange?
Yeah, they had just opened it back up after 1CW had temporarily folded for a little bit. And they were just kicking things back off with 302 at the time. And I went to, I believe, the Matt Hardy show, which was the show after the show that we're
Right.
talking about. And that's
Yeah.
when I ended up talking to Kevin Brittingham, who just passed away, about training at the school.
And Ron,
Yeah, Ron just passed away too.
Yeah,
In
man.
Delaware.
Billy
lost some-
Bingo. He was
some-
Billy, and he
Yeah.
was the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had no idea what he was doing, but very entertaining.
He was.
Didn't have a clue.
Listen, great guy. He was not good. In the what I
As the
mean?
manager?
As the manager, yeah.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a clue. It was all
No,
all
right.
dirty Sunny Deeds feeding
Yeah.
him this, feeding him that. But he could he knew about 3 things to say that would make the Delaware crowds very angry.
And it's-
So he just kinda
yeah,
leaned
and
on
it's-
Well,
those.
they're easy to work.
Chicken
you
farmer.
know.
And this is not talking bad of the dead because
No.
he was an amazing human being.
Yeah,
like
love
a really
Ron,
good guy.
love Ron.
But as a promoter, and I remember doing them shows, and Ron was also the owner of the building.
Yep, that's right.
So it was really tough. That's why I only really part of the reason I was kind of like butted heads with him because like it's really tough because to me when you're putting a show together, like psychology and all means so much. And he like during his matches he would like steal the heat from the baby faces and just do all the wrong
Yes,
stuff at
he
the wrong time.
Just didn't have a clue.
No, and because he was like the owner of the building, he didn't want to take criticism.
Right. You couldn't
When
tell
I
him a
would-
thing.
Yeah, no, I tried to pull him aside, and he was like, "Oh, I know, yeah, I know what I'm, and I'm like, oh man, you don't have any idea what you're doing out there,
Not
and
a
it's
clue.
and then it's tough because it impacts the show, but he was a great guy, he was a good
Yeah.
guy, just he
Yeah, and very lucky of me to have someone like that in my corner and gave me a lot of opportunities starting
Yeah,
out. I mean,
yeah.
he gave me a building to train in
Yeah.
originally, so I can't thank the guy
what
enough.
he had cancer.
Yeah, cancer and passed away.
Yeah, his son does. His son, and I guess his son running the Delaware Auto Exchange.
Yeah, and
also?
his son is massive on YouTube.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
and so is Dirty Sunny Deeds. It's crazy. Dirty Sunny Deeds is a way bigger YouTuber than he ever was a wrestler.
What's he doing on YouTube?
Paranormal stuff.
Oh, I
Interesting.
heard about that.
Wild.
I heard about he
Like
was doing
that's the
paranormals.
only thing he's doing. He's like making a living from hunting ghosts, and it sounds absurd to say. I don't know if you guys know Chills, the YouTuber, who's
Is that him or no?
no, that's someone who's like a I don't want to say like a paranormal icon because that's giving the guy too much credit, but very big in the paranormal community on YouTube. and he's got a really distinct voice. Chills says everything just like this. And I was watching his videos, and he said, dirty, sunny deeds. And it was the most surreal thing I've ever experienced. Super odd to hear a YouTuber that I've been listening to since probably 2009. Chill's been around since he's just been like reading.
He got a big following, I guess.
Huge following. Like one of the names you think of when you think YouTube in general, let alone paranormal YouTube. But to hear him mention Dirty Sunny Deeds, just
and is he Dirty Sunny Deeds on YouTube?
He is Dirty Sunny Deeds on YouTube, full on. He's got his little logo. His logo's never changed. It's the same. It's just got a lot of cool effects around it now.
That's where they could just look on YouTube, Dirty Sunny Deeds.
Yeah, just go check him out. I've made some cameo appearances. Let's see if you can find me.
I might have to. I like the paranormal stuff,
and he's entertaining. He's a big goof, so it's always a good time.
But remember when you just used to watch it on TV? Like now you go to YouTube to watch this kind of. You know what I mean? Like
YouTube
it used to be
TV.
Jason
I
and
watch
Grant, and they would
everything.
take their Roto-Rooter van by day, and then they would change it to the Taps van at night, and like you had to watch it when it was on TV. Now it's YouTube for everything.
I remember Scooby-Doo, and they took their van and found
This
it.
is true. They were the original ghost hunters.
That's right.
But I watch everything on YouTube. My Fire Stick's on YouTube, and I just watch everything. Even when I don't watch. I'll follow AEW a lot, but I follow it like on a lot of their clips. Instead of just sitting in front of the TV for 2 hours, I'll go to their clips and I watch. I watch everything on YouTube.
It's so easy to find niche content on YouTube. I can find exactly what I like on YouTube, and that's very much the way media is going. That everyone, I mean, we used to come to school or work the next day, and everybody would watch The Office. Everybody would watch Monday Night Football. We would all talk about the same thing. Now I can watch a 45-minute video on Sonic the Hedgehog.
I can guarantee. Bring that up.
yes. Save it. But that I can guarantee, like, nobody at this table except maybe our producer has like seen before. So it's a very, very niche content oriented stuff. And I'm sure you're watching stuff on YouTube that I would never see, and same with YouTube. Like, all our algorithms are very different, and that's just the way media is. I want what I like, and I want it exactly now.
Yeah, my kid watches videos of people opening boxes of cards, which is really weird.
And the opening toys.
Well,
for
that
kids.
was when he was little,
Right.
and like I had to like kind of put the kibosh on that because I was like, buddy, it's just making you ask for everything under the sun. But he watches these YouTubers open boxes of football and baseball cards, and now he wants to go to like these card conventions so he can meet these people. And I was like, are they gonna open boxes of cards for you? I'm like, what are we doing? You know,
It's crazy.
and they're crazy prices too. They're like $400 a ticket, and I was like, so what does this get you again? And he's telling me, and I'm just like,
There's a couple in my hometown that did that, and they were so successful that they actually opened up a brick and mortar location for their like card collecting and card trading, and it's literally a building with just like Pokemon cards and Magic cards and
Just
baseball
so
and
successful
football.
from YouTube.
There's a place in
Yeah,
Harper County, and they sit at the
absolutely
counter and open
crazy.
cards, which is bizarre.
And they're
to
big
me.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
Well,
they have a whole thing on YouTube.
My
a whole presence.
daughter, it always blew me away when I would see her on my iPad looking at toys being unboxed. And then I would look, and it would, like, the video would say like 78 million views, and I'd say, what?
Yep.
Right.
78 million people watch this child open a toy box? You know what I mean? And
Or they watch other people on YouTube playing a video game that they have,
yes.
and it's like, why don't you just play?
Well, I'm guilty
no,
of that.
no.
I can't even pretend that I don't do that. I do that
I
all the
can't
time.
understand that. Like, and my
it's like
kid
you
will be
said,
like,
everything, everybody has a niche.
Right, exactly.
and they want to play
you
with the
know.
person. Like, oh, if I get on it this time, I can play with whatever the heck his name is. And like, dream bigger, kid. Dream bigger.
I think all that has probably affected everything, but also probably when you talk about wrestling and like things changing, how a lot of kids, you know, like when I was, you know, like younger, like there's so many things to distract kids from, say, watching Saturday morning wrestling, becoming a fan early on. It seems like the trend with most people with wrestling, like they become fans really as kids into their teenagers, then they get pulled away from it, then they come back to it. Like, you
That's
know,
what happened with me.
Were you a lifelong fan, or you?
I was just that.
Yeah.
I eventually got too cool for wrestling. And
Right.
Now I'm
Yeah.
still too cool for wrestling, but I just happened to wrestle.
yeah.
But no, I was a super fan. Like, as long as I can remember, there's this video of me, like, bouncing in this little, like, baby seat, and the camera pans over, and the Undertaker has the big boss man on fire. So, like, I can remember.
That wasn't that long ago, and he was a baby. This is exactly what I was talking about. Where these episodes
I was hoping
make
I'd get
me feel
a moment
old.
like that. I was my finger.
I was like 53 when that happened. It wasn't that long ago. Like, good Lord.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
At that age, Bret Hart.
Okay.
I loved Bret Hart. Was obsessed with Bret Hart, and then Chris Benoit as I got a little older.
Okay.
Vape.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, he's not that young. All right, that was why I
Can't
asked
say
you,
his
because that's
name.
what I wanted to. I feel a little bit better because Chris Benoit was, alive a while ago. So, all right.
And then
okay.
when I kind of had my third swing into it in college, it's when the whole Daniel Bryan thing was
Okay.
going on. So small guys that made me believe I can do it, because I wasn't always as huge, believe it or not. I used to be much smaller. Now I'm massive.
It's a good one though. Ben, I joke obviously. People know what happened with Benoit, but I used to be a big fan of Benoit
What
too
happened?
when he was in
Me
Japan.
too.
Nothing.
Oh man.
Nothing.
But you brought up a good point about your physique. You don't look like every wrestler that we used to see on TV in
Right.
in the late '90s.
Exactly.
And I think that that's something, and we've talked about it several times in the past on the show, that this is really that time where you can be you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have certainly done that. Where you let a lot of yourself show through in your character.
Yes, very much so. That's the only way I know how. I mean, when you first start, you have this idea of what a professional wrestler should be, and you have everyone in your ear telling you what a professional wrestler should
And
be.
what you should be.
Right, but at the end of the day, the only thing that you should really be is the biggest, brightest version of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm in a Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt right now. That's why I have blue spikes on my gear and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog,
I love
correct?
Sonic the Hedgehog. When quarantine started, a lot of people did things like learned a new language. I familiarized myself with the entire Sonic the Hedgehog canon. Every game, every IDW comic, and I'm about 50 to 60 issues into the Archie saga, which is about 290 issues total. So I have a long, long way to go, but I'm getting there, being the biggest and brightest mind in the history of a funny blue rat.
Is that what he is?
Wait, I
Is
thought
he
he was
a
a
Hedgehog.
hedgehog.
He's a
He's a
hedgehog.
hedgehog.
Oh, okay.
It's
but-
just simpler to say.
I was just gonna say, why is he called a hedgehog?
Sonic the Rat didn't sound as good.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, in wrestling, the rat, being a rat, has a much different connotation. So it's good that we run from anyone called Sonic the Rat in wrestling. Okay,
Exactly.
that's just a good rule of thumb.
I was workshopping that name actually, and it got shot. They got shot down. So I'm glad I didn't go with that.
That's good. That's good.
What, Killian the Rat?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Killian the Rat McMurphy
Exactly.
instead of the
Well,
yeah,
let's
the
talk about
shooter's
your name for a
better.
second. Instead, you're the Shamrock Shooter. Where
Yes.
did that come about?
Actually, Kevin Brittingham came up with it. Who like we said earlier, recently
Yeah,
passed
rest
away.
in peace, Kevin.
Yeah, he saw that I kind of came out in amateur wrestling stance in my first tryouts, and he knew I was Irish, and he immediately slapped me before I even had the Killian McMurphy thing. He slapped me with the Shamrock Shooter, and I liked it, and it's one of the few things that has stuck around this entire time. I mean, I don't always do the Shamrock thing. Sometimes it's just the Shooter, Killian McMurphy, but I'm glad you guys asked me that because it kind of makes me happy to keep that going for Kevin.
I think Shamrock
he would want the
Shooter-
attention,
I think
you know that.
Shamrock Shooter has a little bit better of a ring to it than just the shooter.
Well,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
today's world, yes.
Yeah.
the shooter is probably
Yeah.
not what you want to be.
Yeah,
known
I
as.
always
Maybe.
from the jump have worried about that and
Mhm.
worried about going on television with just Shooter on my trunks and things like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
That's-
fingers crossed people know what it means. If not, I'll show them what it means.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. The Shamrock Shooter has a much better ring
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it. So
Or
And
the
it-
Sega Shooter.
I remember the first time I announced you and I said, "Where are you from?" And you said it, and I was like, "Wait, what?" Like I had to ask you. Like my brain was not moving at the same speed at which you said "catches catch cat." See, I can't even
Catch Kansas State University.
see. I can't even say it now.
It's one of the worst puns I've ever came up with.
And I was like, "You
stuck
want me to
with
say
it.
what?" But yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. So, but it left an impression.
Yeah.
So, and I think that could be said of your career in general, is that you are
Yes.
leaving an impression.
Yes. You're gonna remember me. Good or bad, you're gonna remember me. You will not forget.
All right.
But
Well,
the funny man with the messy hair and his fat friend.
well, one of the things that you've been doing that's been pretty memorable is your work with Camp Leapfrog. Do you want
Yes.
to tell us about that?
Yes, Camp Leapfrog, I am very lucky to have had them over the course of the pandemic give me stuff like my first no-ring match, the opportunity to wrestle people like Boar and Willow Nightingale, and of course progress me and Erica's story, which I'm sure we'll get to her in a little bit. And of course, bigger than anything, Killian Vision. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to tell my story and to give the platform to some of the people that were able to use Killian Vision to kind of springboard off and just the ideas, the wild stuff that we are able to put to paper and then execute. Like I can't express how grateful I am that all those super talented people wanted to play ball with our goofy BS. Because we did some wild stuff on Killian Vision. We had Julius Smokes, who's an absolute indie legend, ride up on a bicycle like he was Debo. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he did it. I went up to him, I said, Mr. Smokes, did you want to walk up to this scene, or we have a bicycle right there if you want to ride it? And he goes, I like that bike. And me and Dustin both look at each other. They're like, okay, cool, we'll get the bike for you. We'll get the bike. But people like that who no business doing goofy stuff with me, I'm so lucky that they were down for it.
For our fans who might not be familiar with Camp Leapfrog, can you give us like a 1 or 2 sentence description of what that encompasses? I know Larry's brought it up, but he hasn't brought it up in a
talked about it a
while, in
lot,
months. Yeah, but for
And Phil, I guess when Phil
Yeah.
was on, he would talk about it a lot.
It's hard to explain in just 1 or 2 words, but
sentences.
Oh,
1 or 2
sentences. Oh, I got
Yes,
sentences.
No, not 1
Okay.
or 2 words.
Okay.
We speak in sentences here.
True.
Most of the time.
Goo goo gaga. It is different from any professional wrestling show you've ever seen before. It is, like I said, it is characters that you love stuck into all kinds of wacky situations. Of course, they have traditional things like Christmas Trios, which is a Lucha Trios tournament, but a lot of their stuff that they do is absolutely off the wall, and my words can't do it justice. That was a lot more than 2 sentences, but 2 paragraphs, I hope works.
So how does somebody see it?
IWTV. Yep.
And they're
Independent
also
wrestling television.
Yeah, Larry talks about that quite a
Jerry
bit.
Vision,
Yeah.
as I like to call it.
Yeah, they have a lot of content on there.
Yeah, a lot of Killian content. That's also, you can watch Killian Vision, which is, if you're going to watch any Leapfrog, I selfishly and unselfishly, because it's the best reviewed, go watch Killian Vision, because it's incredible.
Is that on IWTV
That
too?
is on IWTV, yeah.
So they do a lot of different things. They also are very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yes.
So, and that's something that Larry had brought up before too, like just doing something and seeing wrestlers in that community featured on a show, is something you wouldn't have seen 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've heard people review it as Lucha for gay stoners. That's what they
That
like
is
to
probably
call.
why it's so entertaining.
That's what they like to call Leapfrog. I've seen a few people call that online, and it's like a goofy thing, but it's all in good jest. And like I very much agree that it is Lucha for gay stoners.
Okay.
It's a very great time. Go watch it. You're gonna love it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. You don't have time to go watch a whole episode of Camp Leapfrog right now, but stay with us. We'll be back in just a minute after this short break.
Fuel the MCW cast by visiting buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast. And for just $3, you can buy the cast a coffee. Or you can choose to become a member of the cast for just $5 a month and get several additional perks. That's buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the MCW cast. I am filling in for Larry. I look just a little bit different, but bringing you back with my friend Tara, Dan the promoter, and of course our guest, Killian. I was going to call you the Shamrock Shooter, and in my head, Sharpshooter wanted to come out, so
No.
I'm so sorry.
Can't do that move. People's
But hey, we're
legs
back.
are too
We're
long.
back.
Real quick, we were talking about all the stuff on IWTV. Do we know the website so we could kind of give them because they got a tremendous amount of independent wrestling content.
Believe it's indiewrestling.com.
Yeah, or just
think
Google
so.
IWTV.
IndependentWrestling.tv.
Independent wrestling.
That's what it is. All right.
Jerry's
And
gonna
I-
have
it-
me.
do
for
They
that
have
a
one.
free
5,817 events from 277 promotions. It's on IWTV.live. More than 12,000 hours of wrestling content. That's a lot of
It's a lot.
wrestling
Yeah.
content.
Stuff like Beyond,
Wow.
Camp Leapfrog, like some of the top
Yeah.
indie
Yeah.
promotions.
And it's $10 a month.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, can't beat that. Can't
That's
beat that.
pretty great. So, and that's offered through Amazon too, right? You can get, is that part of the Power Slam package? Because we're in the bundle for the Power Slam package. Our Rage TV is as well, but that's a separate. IWTV is separate. I
I'm
think.
not sure actually. They should be if they're not. That'd be a pretty.
I know
pretty
that they're
slick
through.
thing.
You can get them through Amazon Prime content, but I
Right.
think it's. I'm not sure if it's. So Amazon Prime has a Power Slam channel, and it has a lot of indie wrestling shows on there as part of this bundle. I think it's like $7.99 a month or something. You get access to it, and we're on there. So if you subscribe to the Power Slam channel, that's your way to get Rage TV as well. Not all of our matches are there, but many of them are. So maybe they have some content on there that's through Amazon that people can do, because you have to select what you put up there.
And there's Killian content on that too, so it's a win-win. Get them all. Watch all my stuff.
Have you you mentioned Beyond? Have you worked for them yet?
Yeah, I've worked for Beyond. I did a 6-man tag right before COVID shut everything down. Actually, at the end of the last season of Uncharted Territory, it was myself, Logan LaRue, Eel O'Neill against the Ugly Ducklings and Eric Royal. So that's a banger of a match. Go watch
Tell
that.
me about this guy Eel O'Neill that all of a sudden I'm hearing about.
He is one of the best technical wrestlers, and I'm not just saying that because he's one of the goons. He's one of the best technical wrestlers I've ever seen. He studied like under like CB and Gresham, and the way his brain works and the way his body moves, it's I can't fathom it. Someone like me, someone who's very old school Southern style professional wrestling, the way he moves like an eel is just mind blowing to me. Maybe
Is
that's
he
why
from
they
around
call
here?
him
Is he like is he around here? It seems
Yeah.
like I hear a lot of people talking about him around.
He's DC. He's from
DC.
DC. Yeah,
Gotcha.
And he's a member of the Goons.
he is a member of the.
We had
Goons.
another member of the Goons on the cast. We had Erica Lee.
Oh, she's our sworn enemy.
Oh,
She's our
sorry, not a
number
member of the
one.
Goons. Sorry, you're
Yes.
not a member.
Yes.
Somebody that the Goons have encountered.
Exactly,
Yes.
our Lex
yes.
Luthor, if you will, to our sweet and innocent Superman.
Well, maybe just to fan those flames, I talked to her on Backstage Pass, and she had to do word association with you. So your name came up. She gave us one word:
Handsome.
clown.
Clown. What was the context? Or was
It
just one
wasn't. It was.
word?
We're gonna say a name. You give us the first word that comes to mind.
So she can't speak in full sentences. I see how.
Well, it was a game. She wasn't supposed to speak in full
It's always
sentences.
a game with her.
Well, when she was on the cast, we talked to her about the cinematic match that you all had. I got
What
that
a tongue
right.
twister.
It was a tongue twister the first time I said it when we were interviewing her, but now I've said it a couple of times. So I
But
think
where is he
I've
from?
Got it. From Kalamazoo, Michigan.
That's it. Nailed it.
You know, from a place with a lot of syllables.
Yeah.
So hey, listen, just to touch back on Beyond, because I've seen a lot of their stuff recently. Do they always do it where like everybody can just be up at ringside? Is that
That's just Uncharted Territory. So
That's
that's,
just
their
a certain-
Thursday shows, yeah.
Their
And then,
Thursday
then
show.
their other shows, I believe, are Sundays, and they have like traditional
seating
setup,
and
yeah.
so the Uncharted Territory shows they can? I just see that it's just as a
Wait, so
promoter.
they have the show, but instead of it being barricades and then
Yeah, like the
are
fans
just
are
right
up
there.
at ringside and pounding, and it's just like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I would feel like as a
Crazy.
promoter, I'm like, oh my god, someone's gonna get kicked in the face, get a nose broke.
I hope so. I hope
Because-
I'm one of the ones that does it. I hope the clip goes viral. I hope I sock somebody.
That's just a lawsuit. I just
I
like,
hit
oh my
somebody
God,
with
as
a water
promoter, it's
bottle a
cringe.
couple weeks ago at Enjoy. That's pretty awesome.
What's Enjoy?
A professional wrestling company out of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And is that the same type of? They do that kind of thing too.
No, that was just traditional seatings. I just threw a water bottle really hard.
Oh,
Hit some guy on his
I'm sure you were
phone.
justified, totally.
I was mad.
Yeah.
I got beat up a couple minutes before that.
See, that's
Like
He
pudding.
should
It's like
logical.
throwing pudding.
Oh God. Or shoes.
Yeah.
You know, for
You know,
throwing
if you've
shoes.
got it and you want to throw it, throw
Who
it.
throws a shoe, honestly?
I mean,
Well, please.
well, we've thrown a shoe or two,
Yes,
but we won't talk about that.
Oh, goodness.
So now you're here. You're in MCW. Ta-da!
Yes.
And we've been seeing you tag teaming with one of our rising stars, Miles Hawkins.
Yes, I've taken the sweet boy under my wing. I will teach him all my ways, good and bad. So if something happens, Dan, that's on you. That was your idea, you know.
Well, I've got a question. So when you get here and then they're like, well, we're going to tag you up with this new guy, was part of you like, crap, I wanted to be a singles guy? Or were you just like, that's cool?
No, I take a lot of pride in tag team wrestling. Of course, I have the Goons. I have, Better Business Bureau with Darius Carter. Hit of the Class, which was my original stable with Eel O'Neill. So I have had a bunch of stables over the course of my career, and I love tag team wrestling. So all jokes aside, to have someone like Miles, who's obviously, all nicknames aside, the golden boy, for you guys to be like, here, go under Killian, who's a good tag wrestler, and learn how to tag wrestle, learn how to cut a crazy promo. And it honestly, super excited to do that. Like, very, very proud of myself to be in that role.
Well, and I myself am a fan of tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, I always, like, growing up, I was always more into, like, the British Bulldogs and the Heart Foundation.
Yeah. There's
So-
so much
I've
room
always
for
liked
a
factions
storyteller.
and
And, like,
stables,
faction, me too.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
why I like putting them together and putting people together, because I think it does a lot for character development and helping maybe put focus on people that weren't having focus put on them. You know what I mean? It's I've always been a fan of it myself. So I like kind of finding people to put together. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
that
but sometimes, I guess what I was trying to say was like, did you feel like when you got here, oh, just throw me with some guy. I don't get to like do my Killian thing. You know, like sometimes it's what you guys see and it's like these two guys look really good together and it's
Yeah.
going to be a thing. But then sometimes it's like you might have come in thinking, this is awesome. I'm going to be doing this singles thing. And it's like, or not. I'll be with the golden boy.
I can always count that I'm going to do the Killian thing. Like, I'm always going to shine as Killian McMurphy in any situation that you're going to put me in. You know,
Whether we have you by yourself or with 20 other people.
Right, exactly. I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb no matter what. So, and I also saw that in a lot of ways, Miles and I, sounds romantic, complete each other in a lot of
Aw.
ways. Like, we fill a lot of gaps that the other doesn't have. And not saying either of us are lacking as a performer, but very much the things that I'm great at, he's working on.
Mhm.
And very much the things that he's great at, I'm working on. So I think we pair together fantastic.
It's a nice compliment. You guys compliment each other.
Yeah. I think it was a very smart thing.
Well,
to
and
put us
I
together.
was told both of you guys, I don't want you to lose your individual personalities.
Yeah.
This is probably not a long term thing, but I like a Randy Orton and Edge, you put them together. Like, I don't want you guys to. I told you guys, I don't want you to start like worrying about investing in like matching tights and all that stuff. I want you to have your.
Because every good tag team breaks up and faces each other.
Right. I want you guys to keep your individual personalities and stay focused on your individual personalities, even though you're a team. So
Yeah.
I just want to see you film some promos together, like go off and film your adventures for a day.
Oh my gosh, if I could do a cinematic with Miles,
Yes.
oh, that would be so much fun. I think it would be so good for him too as a performer. I think it would.
I'd
bring
love
out-
to see that side of him.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Even the little stuff that we've done, the little promos here and
Mhm.
there, he's really like showed off his personality in a way
Yeah.
that I haven't really seen at MCW. So it's cool. I mean, you have to when you're there with me, or you're gonna shrink into a tiny little like. Unless you explode at the same rate that I'm exploding, you're gonna be engulfed by the flames. You know.
So you could almost say, trust the process.
Trust the trade. I came up with that.
right.
So when we start
There you
making
go.
money, I don't want to
Yeah.
be included in that. 15%, 20%.
We all stopped like everybody was about to have
I
their
know
next
when you
thought,
took
and
a
I was
breath,
like,
I thought you were going to say something.
And I
took a
thought you
breath.
were about to say something. I was like,
so, who was going to go?
Well, I'll bring up something. So you were talking about, and we've touched on it a couple times, the cinematic style
Yes.
and these promos and stuff that you do. One of the things that I thought was just super entertaining about, I've watched episodes 1 through 5 that you did,
Nice.
and you guys have awesome chemistry. And I'm speaking about the Goons here.
Yeah,
You guys have some serious chemistry together.
Thank you. I super appreciate it. Did you watch the Erica?
Yes,
The Erica 1 through 5. Yes.
that was hysterical. I
Yes.
mean, I was dying. It was.
So lucky to have worked with her, and thank you for watching that. By the way,
and is that on YouTube?
yes.
How can
yes.
they watch it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Pro
Give that a
Wrestling
plug.
Magic's YouTube channel. So go look up Pro Wrestling Magic on YouTube, and it is one of the most recent things they have posted. They posted a supercut of all 5 episodes together, and I can't thank that team enough for being like, here's the ball, whatever goofy thing you want to do, because we branded him, of course, as the Big GD Cinematics. And we had Magic come up to us, and this was very early in the process before Erica. We were still in the middle of season 1 of our things against people like Kyle and Rob and I'm trying to think of other people. Nate Colt, Eel, of course, was in that season. Magic came up to Dustin and I and said, we want the Big GD Cinematics. And I kind of look at Dustin, I was like, yeah, we can kind of, taper it down and make it a little less goofy, having to do with your heavyweight championship. And they said, no, we want the Big GD Cinematics. Like, we want you at the most you, which is something we talked about earlier. They didn't want any filter. They didn't want anything less than 1,000%. And for a company to do that with that title, and for it to get the reaction that it did online, it's still in the running a lot of places as feud of the year, and knock on wood that we get it, because I'm very, very proud of that stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have to go watch it. You've
You should.
got my interest. I'm going to watch this.
Well, if you really like cinematics, after this episode, we have a very special premiere
Yes.
of the Big GD Cinematic Christmas Special, J. George Saves Christmas. And we are very lucky. Dan has given us the opportunity to premiere it after this podcast episode. So if you really want to see it, just stick around.
But you should go back and watch the other episodes too.
I
Definitely.
will. Definitely will. But
Definitely.
how about you?
They
Tuning
all
in for the
they all
Christmas
tie in
special.
together, I'm assuming.
The Erica episodes tied together, and a lot of the first season ties together. But right now, we're kind of just doing standalone holiday specials.
So, and that's me. That's all. They're all featured on that Pro Wrestling Magic.
Our own before the Pro Wrestling Magic stuff is on the Killian McMurphy YouTube channel. So there's plenty of cinematic
Okay, so
content
there
on
you
the
go,
Killian McMurphy channel too.
Okay.
Yep. And then of course the Halloween special where we get turned into sock puppets is there. You ever seen a sock puppet professional wrestling match, Dan?
No.
Well, you're gonna have to check that sucker out. Killian McMurphy's YouTube page. That's how you do a plug, right?
That this actually does have my interest peaked. That I think
See?
I'm gonna go home and watch the Killian McMurphy YouTube
Good.
channel for the
Good.
sock puppets.
Good. Well, check out the Christmas special. I sent Dan a little early preview of it, so he's a very lucky man.
And
So
we-
based off you guys doing that, this Pro Wrestling Magic company saw it, and then they said, "We want you to do something for us."
Yes.
Similar.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
gotcha.
They saw us pretty much, I don't want to say workshopping, but doing it on our own. When everything shut down, you saw it coming from months out. This booking canceled, and my manic personality, I'm calling Dustin Wilson, Big Dust, my best friend, my manager, and I'm saying, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And he just said, why don't we do it ourselves? And when you do it yourselves, you are not restricted by anything at all. So we took this philosophy of, and this is another Big Dust quote, this is all him, we know what a professional wrestling match can be. What else can it be? And that's the philosophy of the Big GD Cinematics.
Well, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
see,
check
there
it
you
out.
go.
Also, how you do a plug right there.
I like seeing something different. I think that's, one of the great things that came out of this weird time that we are coming out of is that, people got bored and did fun stuff, stuff
Yes.
that would have never made it onto TV, made it onto TV or
Right.
onto YouTube or whatever. And like we were saying earlier, there's something for everyone out there. And I think that has been kind of cool. Like, I like the theatrical matches. Like, I actually enjoyed them,
Yes.
you
Thank
know?
you. Thank you.
But like, it was just something different,
Yeah.
because I can't tell you how many times I would want to watch something, even like the major companies' pay-per-views. I'll I'll put them on, and I've zoned out 5-10 minutes into a
Right.
match because I'm like, oh, I feel like I've seen this before. Like, it takes a lot for something to really get me interested.
Right. But if you see that your favorite wrestler's been transformed into a sock puppet, you're going to put that phone down and you're going to say, what is going on? I need to see what happens.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think sock puppets. That wasn't the word I was looking for, but
Metaphorical sock puppets.
Yes, but just that idea of doing something different and to stand out from the crowd, because that's what you're doing. You're standing out from the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm certainly trying to.
Well, very good. That was good. Were you that idea, did it come, was it inspired at all by like Matt Hardy doing his like broken stuff?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's a few things, right? And of course our stuff is way different from what they did or what Bray Wyatt was doing
Right.
at WrestleMania or what The Undertaker did with AJ Styles, but these are all just little pieces that led to, professional wrestling getting more and more bastardized, for lack of a better word, to eventually it became
Evolving.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Into the kind of stuff that we're doing now. Like you look at those steps, less so the Bray Wyatt stuff, because that stuff was very surreal, but they're a little more of the missing link between our cinematic content and professional.
Because
wrestling.
I'll be honest, like Matt and I have been friends for 25 years, and I've always going back to the 90s, like I always looked up to Matt. I always thought Matt Hardy was one of the smartest guys in the business. I'd learned a lot from him and would always pick his brains about stuff. And when he started doing that, I have to admit, like I was like, I was like, before he was like, it was out there, he would send me stuff to look at, and I'd be like, I don't get this, man. I don't get this. But I tell you what, when I did get it, when him and Jeff Hardy were here, and we had like 1,400 people out, and like 300 or 400 people we had to turn away, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff is white hot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just the general,
Camcorder
maybe
in
the
their
genesis
backyard.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the drone
just,
flying over.
Right,
Yeah.
a drone, and I was like, oh my God, like this is not, you know what I mean? That's when I realized, like, wow, this is really something.
Yeah.
So, I guess evolutions of that, but that general idea that, like you said, like wrestling could be something different, because I was probably someone that I would have never thought of that or taken something in that direction.
Right. Yeah. How many times do you want to watch a hip toss on a wrestling
Right.
show?
Right.
Like it's a good palate cleanser. It's a good look up from your phone moment. I think there's a place on every broadcast of professional wrestling for cinematic content.
And I think more and more, like you use the term like wrestling being bastardized, but the more and more that the more casual fan realizes that wrestling is what it is, and like you're in on it, and you get it, like the more open, I guess, to that type of change.
Right, absolutely. I know a few people that aren't wrestling fans, but that stay tuned for our cinematic content, because it's still very much the storytelling of beats of professional wrestling, but every story is at the end of the day, really.
Right.
So there's appeal for Joe Schmo wrestling fan and Joe Schmo movie fan. I think cinematic storytelling in professional wrestling is a huge opportunity to draw in casual fans.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe
very
we'll
good.
have to put that on the next MCW show, which, by the way, is coming up December 30th. It's called The Last Call, and if you haven't gotten your tickets, you should do that.
Going to be a good crowd,
Yeah.
and probably a somewhat emotional event, as it's our last event after 8 years in the MCW
In the
arena.
MCW arena, that's right. Well, I have to be honest, there's things I'm not going to miss, like the lack of heating and air conditioning. I don't think I'm going to miss that.
No,
But I will miss this space very much, actually. It's meant a lot to me.
It's well, there's been a lot of memories, and some memories really in professional wrestling in general. Like this building, the MCW arena will always be the building that housed the very last Piper's Pit.
That's right.
Because he passed away only a week later. The very last Roddy Piper, Piper's Pit, was held in this building.
Yep.
You know?
And Lita's return after what, 10 years?
Yeah. The missing footage. You know, that missing.
Oh boy, I shouldn't have brought that up. I know that's a source. Okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
The one show that like the
Oh God.
that went haywire and we didn't actually videotape and we thought we were videotaping.
Footage
that.
didn't back up
Well,
properly.
and it was like, you know, because so Amy, Lita, you know, like her, Mickey, Jane, anybody that's made it, it's always this weirdness of like I never want to feel like I'm taking advantage and pushing them to ask, so I would never ask Lita to like, hey, why don't you come back and wrestle? It's been a decade. Like she would just show up and sign autographs, and just ironically that day she came to me and said, I think I want to wrestle. And it was like before the show, and I was like, are you freaking serious? Like Lita's gonna come back after 10 years on an MCW show? And the camera didn't work.
The camera recorded it. It
The
didn't
camera
upload properly.
It didn't upload.
I mean, we
Yeah,
sent the hard
yeah.
drive out for like, you know,
What did she do,
forensic repairs.
a 6-person with RJ?
Yeah, it was a big deal. And
Yeah,
we had a cell
she
cell
came
phone
back
footage.
and it was even got a lot of buzz. And actually, like websites reached
Yes.
out to me and were like
And-
afterwards because like Lita returned to
Yep.
wrestling after 10 years, and they were
So
like,
right now it's a funny story.
It doesn't
Tara,
exist.
how was it
Oh.
in
"Oh,
the
it was
moment?
brutal."
Oh my God.
It was tense for a
So,
couple months.
I will own the fact that I hired the guy who lost the footage. Okay, so that was what I was tasked with interviewing and hiring like a camera person, and this was not something I knew a ton about, but he seemed okay. And then he kept telling me he could do things, and all the other shows he managed to upload just fine. And then that one show when the converting, I don't know what happened. But
It was like a TriCaster, and it was something that edited.
we had different equipment. It was
Not-
just
like,
something went
I
wrong.
was angry.
Oh
then.
yeah, it was.
Oh, I know.
It was bad.
That's how I knew
That
I
was
could
that
ask
guy's last
her.
show. That was his last show.
I
Let's put it
truly
that way.
believe that professional wrestling, there's more lost media
Yeah.
than
Oh, my
any
gosh.
other entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm,
Because
I've
there's
never
so much
in
that just
25
doesn't
years
exist.
in 25 years doing this, I've never had so many in like all the major wrestling were like, hey, can we just get a couple clips like Lita returned to wrestling? I'm like, yeah, no,
No,
I
sorry.
can't because we didn't tape it. And
No.
they were like, what?
Gone.
Yeah.
This
the
is only
I
like
mean, we
30 minutes.
tried literally
Yeah, just
everything. I
gone,
mean, I drove that hard drive to like 2 different computer data recovery places.
And not
like,
just that though, not
Yeah.
just that. Honest to God, probably in 25 years,
Mhm.
one of the best matches we've ever had on
Yeah,
our show.
it was
Brian Cage versus Leo Rush.
Yep, I remember.
Brian Cage versus Leo Rush was freaking and unbelievable.
It
Like
was.
one of the greatest stories, just an absolute like flawless,
Mm-hmm.
amazing match for both of them. And like I remember Brian Cage, like he was getting angry at me over text messages. Like he was like, "Oh man, if you don't want to give me the footage." And I was like, and Brian's, well, he's a freaking machine.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, Brian, no, I'm not. He's like, Dan, man, you can just tell me if you don't want to give me the footage. I'm not going to put it on YouTube. I'm like, Brian, you don't understand.
Right.
Like, you're not getting, I'm not hiding the footage from you.
It does not
and
exist.
Brian was like, this is the best match I've ever had. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It was probably one of the best matches that we've ever had on our shows. And it doesn't exist anymore.
So
Like, except for the people that saw it. that
we
night.
can see something close to that because Brian is going to go against Action Andretti. So
And ironically,
Mm-hmm.
you bring this up because when I was telling Brian about the match I was giving him, I said, "Hey, man, just to recreate." That's exactly. I said, "I'm gonna put you with this kid Action." He was like, "Yeah, man, I've heard." He was like that. I've heard about that kid like buzzing a little bit. And I said, "Yeah, man, he's a Leo Rush clone." So you know that match that you like were furious at me because it frickin' disappeared that you had with Leo Rush.
I promise
Just
to record
recreate
it.
Do that again.
again.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
Oh
So-
my gosh. Well, if you want to get tickets to that show, it is December 30th. It'll be the last time that we run a live event here at the MCW Arena in Joppa, and you can get those tickets at mcwprowrestling.com, or of course go to our local ticket outlet at Hideaway Collectibles on Holabird Avenue. Grab a Bruiser Burger from Jimmy's Seafood while you're there, and go in and check out all the collectibles and pick up your tickets because you don't want to miss this show.
I'm gonna be there.
That's true. That
With
is very
Miles.
true. With you
A
and
tag
Miles.
team
will be-
somebody
tag team
up.
title opportunity.
Is that what we're getting?
Yeah, yeah,
That's probably been announced by now, hasn't it?
yeah.
If
That,
so-
Yeah.
At this point,
I
it's
mean,
been
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we're getting.
That's
That's right. I knew that from the graphic that came out the other day.
That's right.
And hang on, right as this, if you're watching on YouTube
Yep.
or Facebook, right attached to the end of this is going to be,
Give us your plug
give us
again.
your plug.
The Big GD Cinematic Christmas Special, J. George Saves Christmas, featuring myself, J. George, Big Dust, Erica Lee, and of course, Big Bob as Santa Claus.
And if you're
You guys are
listening
going to love Big Bob.
if you're listening on one of the
doesn't
podcast
love Santa?
platforms, obviously you're not going to get it. So go to the MCW Pro Wrestling YouTube or Facebook
Mm-hmm.
channel to watch the video.
Yes, absolutely do that. If you are listening, you are missing out. Just look at me.
Well, and of course, go check out your YouTube channel too.
Yes, my own YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Magic's YouTube channel, all our stuff. We have some great cinematics on IWTV, IndieWrestling.tv,
Yes.
you mentioned earlier. Nailed it.
IndependentWrestling.tv.
.tv.
Yes.
Cut me my check, Jerry. That's about it. That's where you can find all our stuff. Of course,
Yeah.
the Shooter KM on Twitter, Killian McMurphy on Instagram.
And you would mail that check to your home in
Where?
Catches.
Catches. I'm like, where's his home? Catches can.
Tara was about to give out his
Kalamazoo.
address. Oh, like
Kalamazoo.
227 15th Street. Like what? Tara's about to give out his actual address. Oh, this is where I plug it home.
Well, okay, I guess if we're collecting money, all right.
Oh, no.
No, I was about to drop like my Venmo or something. You know, just because. Well, it's been really fun catching up with you and hearing about your other sides of your career here, not just wrestling, but that you do so much more as well.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be on the podcast. Ever since you guys started doing it a year ago, I've been mad that I haven't been featured, but here I am.
Well, here you are.
It only took 49 episodes.
I
That's
know.
right.
I've been waiting.
Well, good. At least we managed to get you in the first year. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
and this
true.
has been a
That's
big
true.
year for you. You know, you made your MCW debut,
Yes.
and you know you're doing all this stuff. So
Absolutely.
we're
First
we're
death
the
match in
lucky
Maryland
ones to
history.
have you sitting here, Killian.
Yes, very lucky. Blessed, even. You are all welcome. I'm just glad I'm out of slapping distance.
I mean, if you earn it, you get it. I mean, I don't know what to say. Right? Am I right, Kim? I mean,
I
Well,
mean,
no, don't you start getting slick because
No, no,
you're
no.
close
hey,
enough
I'm
to
on your
pop
side.
off
That's
on
why
me.
they keep us across the
right.
table from each other.
We've slapped
Got
each
you.
other many times.
Yes,
actually,
evening
we
gown.
have we
Yeah.
have a history of slapping.
But it's been a while now.
It has.
We're
Well,
due. We're due for some
that's what I was-
slappage.
Wait, we could both get on either side of him. Smack into you, you
No.
smack into him. We go back and forth.
Dan,
That would be fun.
Dan, you're just going to let this happen?
I'm not getting in on this.
Oh, my
Well,
goodness.
Come December 30th, you never know what'll happen. But also, you need to stay tuned and watch this cinematic Christmas episode.
Yes. JG Saves Christmas.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here on the MCW cast.
That's it! The last thing I'm gonna do is let some weirdo in a fuzzy hat and a goofy suit push us around! That's right! No longer will we let the furries tell us what to do! What? No, Santa Claus. Hinton. No longer are we gonna let that holly jolly bastard, Chris's little Kringle, all over our holiday spirit. I got an idea.
Fellas! Long time no see.
J. George, now is not a good time.
But it's always a good time when you get everything you ever wanted. Ooh, it's Christmas time, yeah. Christmas time, boys, Christmas time. Presents. Oh, I'm so excited. Check out all the presents that I got. Ooh, what do you got over here? Like this ornament, this one-of-a-kind special edition, collector's edition, anniversary edition, Mario Lopez ornament. It's so beautiful! Oh, this bat, this is the same bat that Long Sock Jones used to win the Game 6 winning triple-double. I don't know, I don't really care about baseball, just need to have a baseball bat, you know? And last but not least, le piece de resistance. A moment that I've been waiting for my entire life. Keys. Right? And not just any keys. These are keys, brand new keys to a hot set of wheels. And I'm going to be driving all around town with these bad... A toy car. Looks like they like to change things up on old JG.
Seems JG is a little disenfranchised. He didn't receive the present he was expecting from old Santa Claus. Well, while naughty boys certainly do receive their coal, nice boys may not always get the presents they were expecting. At least he's not like the goons. Now those are a couple of naughty boys. Alright, but I have a special present prepared for JG, the true meaning of Christmas. Though it may be a present he will be getting a little bit late.
Dashing through the snow.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled, plot-relevant, copyright-free music to bring you this late-breaking news from our correspondents up at the North Pole. We have unfortunately received word that the beloved holiday mascot and known Coca-Cola enthusiast is being held hostage by a crazed homeless man and his fat friend.
Yeah, that's right. That's what he gets. Old Father Christmas really had it coming to him. And now, there won't even be a Christmas next year. With no Christmas, that means... I'll never get a real car. No. You know what? No. Now it's time for old JG to change things up on them. Oops. What is that? Ooh. The frigid coldness of the Arctic tundra. Brr. Huh? What? Jacket? It's not lambskin, but it'll do.
The only thing warmer is the loving embrace of a family member on Christmas morning.
Remember, the holidays are nothing without the people you love the most.
The ones I love the most? What kind of Hallmark malarkey is that? The holidays won't mean anything unless I save Santa.
Kidnapped in the basement of my own workshop. Ironic.
You made a fool out of us for the last time, Claus. You give me petty cash receipts. You give me coal. All Dust gets is a freaking can of beans.
But Dustin wanted beans. It was the only thing on his...
Shut the up, old man! I am Father Christmas now!
Killian! Dust! I should have known you two were behind this.
You should have, J. George. You really should have. And now, the goons have pulled the greatest caper to date. We've stolen Christmas itself, and there's nothing that you can do all by your lonely little lonesome.
He's right. I am by my lonesome. My lonely little lonesome. Who knows how many goons are lurking around here?
J. George, remember the reindeer.
The reindeer? From earlier? That I met in the tundra?
Yes, the reindeer from earlier that you met in the tundra, yes!
I bet if I could think of what that weird deer lady told me, it would probably help right now. She said something like, Christmas it's all about the ones that you love the most, and well, I can't think of anybody that I love more than myself. That's it! That's it! A go for J. George.
Hello, Mr. George. Your 2 o'clock appointment has been canceled.
What?
Well, unfortunately, your massage therapist died.
How?
She died of a broken Christmas spirit.
I understand. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
You know, I just don't get it. This whole time I thought I was doing the right thing. If Christmas is all about the ones you love the most, then why isn't Christmas about me? But what good is my own great Christmas if there's nobody to share it with? Nobody to make my great Christmas even better. All the beautiful music, all the wonderful gifts, they mean nothing without the Christmas spirit. Wait a minute. All those wonderful gifts, they mean nothing. Wonderful gifts! That's it! Like, actually this time. Well, buddy, you took me further than any set of real wheels ever could. I sure hope this works.
Killian! Oh, you little scumbag, you're gonna get... Oh!
Dust, no! And that's how I saved Christmas. It's been a crazy ride, but I thank you all for joining me. I hope you all learned something along the way. I mean, so much has happened. Hey everybody, now Dust is dead. Baseball bat to Killian's head. A lot more gore than gingerbread, 'cause it's Christmas time again. I learned my lesson and I did some stuff. Giving up gifts just a little bit tough. Next year then won't pout and huff when it's Christmas time again. Still can't believe it all went down. Santa killed the guy. Old Saint Nick popped off slick, put a shell in Duster's eye. That's it, folks, we have to bail on all the time we spend. Hope Santa Claus don't go to jail when it's Christmas time again. Merry Christmas, everybody!